was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner. Because they was bringing the kids out too. Had them zip tied to each other. They just treated us like we were nothing.
Patricia Fisher says she came out to the hallway of her apartment complex on the corner of 75th and South Shore Drive in her nightgown around 10 Monday night, only to find ICE agents yelling police.
It was scary because I've never had a gun put in my face. They asked my name and my date of birth and asked me did I have any warrants, and I told them no. I didn't.
She says she was then handcuffed and released around 3 a.m. Fisher says she was told if anyone had any kind of warrant out for them, even if it was unrelated to immigration, they would not be released. Citizenat video shows the chaotic scene overnight. Trucks and military-style vans were used to separate parents from their children. Other neighbors say they saw agents destroying property to get in the building.
And they had a big 15-inch chainsaw with a round blade on it, cutting this fence down. We're under siege. We're being invaded by our own military.
The FBI did confirm this morning that they did help the U.S. Border Patrol carry out a targeted immigration enforcement operation in this area, and they say they have been supporting these efforts at the direction of the U.S. Attorney General.
ICE is detaining black people in Chicago. Do you understand? We told y'all it was going to start with Hispanic people and immigrants, and they were already going after Haitians, already going after my people. So I've been saying this, but like they're now detaining, ICE is now detaining black people in Chicago. They just raided a whole apartment complex. Ain't that crazy? They raided a whole apartment complex. And it didn't matter what you were doing in your apartment. You had people roll up in your house, detain you. And if you had a warrant out, they kept you. That's like, what are you doing in my house in the first place? They're detaining black people in Chicago. So, okay. All right. So what now? When does when do we stop working and start working? You know, like, because I don't understand, like, what do we do now?
Y'all, I'm finna say two things that y'all think aren't related, but they're absolutely related. And the common thread is going to be that they're rooted in white supremacy and elitism, okay? Mean Girls and Pilates. And the reason why Pete Hegseth doesn't want black and brown people or women in the military. Now, before you say I'm out of my mind and I'm deranged and maybe I need to put on a 10 hat or go 5150, let me cook, okay? For starters, I'm a 24-year retired Air Force veteran, right? I came from a family that did not have the money to send me to college. I did do well in school. I did get scholarships. I could have went on scholarships, but because I had a family that was struggling financially, I was a little bit scared to go to college because I was afraid to take out loans if I needed to, because I had seen how loans had put a lot of my family in debt in ways that they could not get out of, and I didn't want any parts of that, right? So I decided to go into the military. Long story short, what was supposed to be 4 years turned into 24. Okay, in those 24 years, I managed to get 3 degrees completely free. All right, I got 100% tuition. My 3 degrees were completely free. I managed to get at least 2 different certifications completely free. I got my GI Bill and transferred my GI Bill to my son, who can now go to college completely free. I'm also a 100% disabled veteran, permanent and total. So my son can also go to school based off of Chapter 35, I believe it is, completely free. I was able to buy a house with the VA home loan, okay? And because the VA home loan guarantees up to $450,000, and I bought my house in Texas a little over, coming up on almost 20 years ago. We're a few years shy of 20 years that I bought that house. So I have about $350,000 left of that I can put into another home loan, guaranteed home loan, because you can use up to 400. I think it's 400,000, not 450,000. So I might have 250. I don't know. Anyway, point is, I amassed all of that while I was in the military, plus hard and soft skills that made me very marketable when I retired, so much so that I was able to walk into a training director role. And when I decided that the workforce just wasn't for me, I was able at 44, actually right before I turned 43 years old, I was able to say, you know what, I don't want to go back to work anymore, and I don't have to for the rest of my life. Now, you may be wondering what all that has to do with what I just said. All of that has to do with what I just said, because there are plenty more black people who have came into the military, black and brown people, and women who have came in the military who played that same long game. So not only are they pissed that these people are excelling in rank within the military and quote unquote taking their positions from them, when ain't nobody taking shit from them. We're just good at our jobs and got promoted on merit. We're also creating generational wealth in ways that they didn't never want us to create generational wealth. Hence Jim Crow and segregation and all of the other things they had going on, right? And burning down anything, any town, any black town that tried to do well for itself, right? So there's that. So that's why they want them out the military. You could talk about other things, and I'm not saying the other things don't have merit, but that's the biggest reason, because we're creating wealth and we're in places that they don't think we should be. Think about the Jay-Z song, the Beyonce and Jay-Z album, The Carters, and the song Nice, where he says, time to remind me I'm black again, huh? All that talking back, I'm too arrogant, huh? They have felt that way since Barack Obama became president, because they assumed that we were proud that we finally got one black president, that we were being arrogant. And we weren't. We were just being proud, right? So that's the military piece, right? Now, going back to Pilates and Mean Girls, same concept, different font, right? Same racism, same classism, same elitism, different font. Most women that take Pilates believe Pilates is an expensive course that should be reserved for people who are affluent and have money. So when they see black and brown women in there, they naturally assume we're not affluent and we don't have money. And I know, baby, I be pissing them off coming, because I keep braids, locks, sew-ins, all types of different hairstyles, and typically my nails will be done. They're not done now because I waited too late to take them off and schedule my appointment with my tech, but that's okay, because next weekend I'll be back to being a baddie. Well, I'm still a baddie, but y'all know what I'm saying. Anyway, point is, they see me with the long nails that they assume are ghetto, with the different hairstyles that they assume are ghetto, me walking in because it's hot in there when we get to work, and at least for me, with this jacket on, but when I take it off, I got on bra tops with abs underneath. You know what I mean? And I'm wearing most of my crystal copper bracelets and things like that. Long story short, I'm unapologetically black when I walk into those spaces, waist beads and all, and they see that and they think I don't belong. I shouldn't be there. Why am I there? Why am I taking classes in mid-afternoon? Why ain't somewhere at work hustling? Why ain't somewhere struggling? Okay, that's what a lot of this boils down to. And some of it, for most of the white women, it's gonna be racism mixed with classism. But there are some black women who are out there being mean too, as we've seen lately with some of these black women coming on this app talking about Pilates and different bodies that should and shouldn't be in Pilates. That is their proximity to whiteness showing, as well as their elitism, classism showing. So, like I said in the beginning, it was gonna sound crazy, but I was gonna make it all relate. I'm curious as to what y'all thoughts are about this, so please drop down in the comments and let me know. Did I cook, or do I need to get back in the kitchen because the meal is still undone? Okay, all right, I love y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. Be safe out there. Bye.
So this is how I know some of y'all was never raised in the hood. When there is a raid, no matter what color it is, who's ever in the building, house, apartment, they are going to detain every single person. If your daughter ever went to a drug dealer house and they raided it, they're going to arrest your daughter, hold her, verify who she is, make sure she's not part of the criminal gang, and then they're more than likely going to release her. That's what happened. Yes, black people were affected. Yes, people were taken out of their homes at that time of the morning, but they were released. So they were also there because the building was overran by Venezuelan gangs. So yeah, in this case, some black people got affected, and they're going to keep being affected because they threw these people in our neighborhoods and communities. So this won't be the last raid.
ICE is now going after and detaining all black people in Chicago, including black Americans, regardless of your citizenship status and regardless if you are native to this country.
Lives in this building, and she says she was detained by ICE agents overnight, and she says they took everyone and then asked questions later.
They just treated us like we were nothing.
Patricia Fisher says she came out to the hallway of her apartment complex on the corner of 75th and South Shore Drive in her nightgown around 10 Monday night, only to find ICE agents yelling police.
It was scary because I've never had a gun put in my face. They asked my name and my date of birth and asked me did I have any warrants, and I told them no, I didn't.
She says she was then handcuffed and released around 3 a.m. Fisher says she was told if anyone had any kind of warrant out for them, even if it was unrelated to immigration, they would not be released. Citizenat video shows the chaotic
and specifically apartment complexes where they know majority of the population of those buildings are Black Americans who are native to America, ergo American citizens. This was a threat that was told to us by Kamala Harris and many people, that he would send troops after citizens and that he definitely would do his darndest to go after Latinos first, Asians second, and then us. Stay vigilant, stay safe, because who knows what's going to happen. The Governor Pritzker is fighting against Trump now, pushing back on Trump sending in the army and the military, which he's still planning to do. But ICE agents have ramped up their efforts in Chicago over the last couple of days because of this, including now Black people.
Back in June, I was called a tether by my own people because I was telling Black Americans that we are not absolved from the harms of ICE, and that it's been important to advocate for immigrant community because the Americanness was never going to save us because they will see the Blackness first. I also said they're not going to be asking anybody for their IDs or their birth certificate. And here we are at the beginning of October, where a community of Black American people have been picked up by ICE. And not only were these Black Americans picked up and detained by ICE, but their entire building, their homes, their apartments were ransacked and left in complete disarray. ICE is the police. We have always seen that when it comes to Black folks, that police tend to often get it wrong with us. They identify the criminality based on the rape. And y'all don't think that ICE does the same? So let's be very clear. If you didn't know it then, maybe you'll learn it now. Solidarity in these times is what's going to save us. Coming together and recognize that we have the same boot on our necks will get us out of our egos and maybe the fortitude to protect each other. Because while folks make the joke, oh, where are they gonna send us to? We're American. You do know they don't give a damn. And that they've also been sending people to places outside of their home countries. And for those who have been paying attention, some folks get picked up and disappear. And that's very real.
Those ICE people are in Chicago terrorizing Black Americans. So Black people, if you thought you were safe, you are not. It's not only for the immigrants. They are cuffing Black Americans, sending off flashbangs, doing all types of illegal things. Cuffing these people for no reason, asking them if they have warrants, asking them for their date of birth, who they are, all of the above. It's crazy. It's sick. And they're probably coming to a neighborhood near you. And I'm never going to shut up about this. You may try to silence me. I'll go on another platform and talk about it. But Black people, be safe for real, because these things are happening in the middle of the night. People said they went outside of their apartments to be greeted by ICE yelling, police, police, flashbangs. And people asking them if they have warrants. It's nuts. It's actually scary. And it's scary.
Did you hear about the midnight raid in South Shore in Chicago? Here's what just happened and why this matters to you. Are you ready? Let's go. So last night in Chicago's South Shore, federal agents, ICE, swarmed a residential building. Did y'all hear about this? Okay. Now, this was in the dark of early morning that this happened, and the operation actually left these Black folks, these residents, traumatized. Because wouldn't you be? Yeah. So questioning constitutional boundaries was absolutely what happened, and demanding accountability is the next thing. So voices from the ground, and what we should be watching for is what we're getting ready to go over right now. You ready? If you're not, go ahead and scroll on now, because a lot of y'all like to argue and stuff and say that we're lying and we're making this up. But baby, this was reported on by their local news. So the raid took place around 75th and South Shore Drive, according to DHS. There were 37 arrests that were made with the CBP, the FBI, and the ATF that was involved. Now, their media confirms that U.S. citizens were among those that were detained, though temporarily. Now, residents report agents asking names, birth dates, and demands of warrants, even unrelated ones. There is actual video of people in zip ties being led to a nearby school lot at 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, witnesses have actually described tear gas, flashbangs, property destruction, and van transports segregating Black people from immigrants. Now, here's what some of the folks that were there actually said. They just treated us like we were nothing. It was scary because I had never had a gun in my face. They asked, "Do you have any warrants?" I told them, "No, I didn't." They're like piling us all up. It wasn't no room to move anywhere. They was terrified. The kids was crying. They had them zip tied together. One of them literally laughed and said, "Fuck them kids." They had big 15-inch chainsaws cutting the fence down. They had the Black people in one van and the immigrants in another. I was placed in a plastic zip tie handcuffs and detained for nearly 2 hours. Once I went into the hallway, they put us in the plastic wristband thingies. They just took our information. Someone else said, "I don't like how they did it because us Americans, we didn't have anything to do with them." Now, these aren't isolated testimonies, folks. These are a painted pattern of mass detentions, indiscriminate treatment, and fear in a Black neighborhood with Americans. Okay. So here are the constitutional concerns. The raid raises urgent Fourth Amendment questions: search, seizure, warrants, detaining U.S. citizens under suspicion of immigration violations or unrelated warrants erodes legal protections. Number one, racial and community impact. So South Shore is predominantly a Black neighborhood. So this kind of forceful nighttime raid, sweeping entire buildings, fuels distrust, trauma, and the question, who is being policed? But we don't need to ask that question because what were you doing there anyway? You already knew. Transparency and accountability. DHS, ICE, they've made statements but have not released full arrest records or evidence backing gang affiliation claims. Communities deserve clarity. But in this case, no one cares until it's your neighborhood. Precedent and ripple effect. If allowed unchecked, this kind of tactic may expand into other vulnerable neighborhoods across the country. So here's the question. You ready? Is ICE or DHS publishing detailed warrants or arrest justifications? Which detainees are being charged and for what? Do we know? What legal challenges are going to follow? Will constitutional rights be asserted in court? How will community leaders respond? Protests, legal suits, public pressure, we're going to see about that too. And what federal oversight or local pushback will emerge from this? Because the question is if you're doing this in one Black community, oh baby, listen, this is just the beginning. So what's your call to action? Share this information, look for answers, continue to keep your ear to the street, and demand answers from your elected officials in your community. Find out how protected you are and learn and understand exactly what that amendment says. And what is that? The Fourth Amendment, folks. Let's not get beside ourselves and not do the research or the due diligence that is necessary. It is the Fourth Amendment. Because see, when your neighbors are terrorized in the middle of the night, silence is complicity. Are you complicit? Hope not. For more news and information that you can always use, head over to brownstoneworldwide.com, Cityscape Radio, and you guessed it, Brownstone Living Magazine. We'll see you around.
And ICE attacked a Black neighborhood last night. Black apartment complex, detained pretty much everyone. destroyed those people's homes. Destroyed. I just got finished looking at videos, and they took everything out of the refrigerator, threw it on the floor, broke windows, destroyed fences, destroyed doors, destroyed walls, damaged all of their personal belongings, just threw everything out. So why is ICE in a black neighborhood looking for immigrants, I guess? They have moved on to getting a response from black people because, like I said earlier, we don't have that many immigrants that they should be doing a big recruiting effort. We don't need all of these holding facilities and these jails. We don't have that many immigrants.
So ICE is now detaining African-American U.S. citizens in Chicago. Apparently, just the other night, ICE went ahead and went to an apartment complex in Chicago and took all the black people out of the apartment complex, as well as their kids, in the cold Chicago night of October, and with handcuffed, and did not allow parents to put clothes on their children. Their children are just outside there cold with no shirt, no pants, just cold. And then they're just supposed to get sent back home right after hours of being detained and then be okay with it and go home untraumatized. Yeah, so that's currently the case right now in Chicago. ICE is in fact targeting black people. This is very important to keep in mind of because just not too long ago, the Supreme Court interimly decided that ICE can continue to engage in racially profiling people, even though there's a case going against that right now in the court, so they could continue business as usual with racial profiling. Now, although they could have always racially profiled, this decision is important because it strengthens people's desire to engage in the racial profiling in order to do their deportation. ICE is going to more places. Memphis is next. Memphis is going to be happening in the next coming weeks. So everybody needs to know how to protect themselves. Nobody who is not white is safe from ICE. You will be thought of as a threat. That is why they detained them folks when that white lady called on them in Georgia. Be mindful of how we're interacting with these government agencies. Be careful. Know what's going on in your area. Know how to interact with ICE. Know your right. Record. Narrate the interaction. Do what you can. But just do not let them take control of the narrative. They will try and spin it each and every way to seem as if they are not doing the things that they are doing. When people come back from these ICE interactions, they come back traumatized. There isn't a single person who doesn't. So we have to continue to make sure that that's known and that this agency is not just engaging in the deportation of harmful, scary criminals. They're actually ripping apart families and traumatizing children.
ICE is now targeting black communities. For those who thought this would stop at brown, mostly Latina people and allowed your empathy to be selective, please understand this. Black folks are being targeted as well. In Chicago's South Shore, federal agents and ICE targeted an apartment building in the middle of the night, arresting 37 people. Children were ripped away from their parents. Children and adults were ripped out of their beds, zip-tied, and left traumatized. Agents dropped out of Black Hawk helicopters, broke down doors, and used tear gas in family homes. This was inhumane and unjustified and about even more than just immigration. This is about unchecked power being unleashed on our communities. Now, back around mid-September, the Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson signed the Protecting Chicago Initiative, which was a citywide effort to defend constitutional rights in the face of possible federal militarization. Residents were urged to document everything, ask for badge numbers and names, even if they don't give them to you. The mayor is trying to keep Chicago safe, and we have to do the same thing by staying informed and staying loud. Because I can't be more clear that ICE raids start as videos you might watch and scroll past, and then one day it's happening at your door and you're the one filming.
This building was not majority black when the ICE came the other day. Yes, black people were affected, but this building was overran by illegal Venezuelan gangs. And I just had several conversations with residents who are moving their stuff out of here that confirmed that. So stop letting media put that false narrative in your head that somebody coming for you, because they not. You was born here. You was born on this land.
I'm not surprised that ICE is detaining black people in Chicago. This has always been a movement against minorities, not only against us Latinos. And it's white supremacy coming into fruition. We know that this is a mass attack on everyone that is not white. So I'm not surprised at all. And this is why, the young lords and the Black Panthers marched back in the fucking 60s and the 70s, because we knew that our causes were one and the same. And we need to do the same fucking thing. Black people and brown people and Latinos, we need to unite. We need to understand that this is a full frontal attack on all minorities. It's gonna get really fucking bad. And you have the governor of like fucking Chicago and everyone saying, hey, make sure that you take pictures of these people when they're doing these illegal arrests, that you're documenting everything, because this is like full on Third Reich shit. It's getting really bad, bro. We need to win the midterms next year. If we don't do that, this dude is like a maniac. Trump is like full on crazy at this point. And all their MAGA nut jobs are supporting him, and it's one of the saddest things in the planet. But yeah, black people, be aware of it. We need to work together because this is not looking good. Que tengan buen día. I'll keep you guys posted.
Imagine waking up and there's a helicopter on your roof, a Black Hawk. Now, I know you guys have seen this footage because it is getting crazy. My hometown is Chicago. Trump has sent out like armed forces to go to, and I really believe this, specifically black neighborhoods, to snatch people up. A Black Hawk helicopter landed on one of the buildings in Chicago in a black neighborhood and just started snatching black children, putting ties on their hands. I mean, it was pathetic and disgusting and racist as you know, and it was so crazy, man. So when he said there's an enemy within, he's talking about black folks. It's usually code word for black people. We got to get rid of black people, which I don't believe is going to happen without a fight, because this ain't the 1920s, this ain't the 1930s, this ain't the 1800s. Black people are way different now. But also, he's trying to stop Indian people from coming in, visas wise. They're trying to do it in Canada. So he's attacking brown people. They've snatched up some Korean people. So black people, Asian people, well, we're all brown. They want to make America white again. That's what it is. And I'm preaching to the choir. You guys know that. They want to make America white again. So this shit is so f***ed up. And whenever they say they're going to certain cities, it's always the strong black cities, especially the cities with black mayors that are actually, you know, trying their best to get the crime rates down and shit like that. Because even J. Edgar Hoover said, the biggest thing that we have to stop is a black messiah. Black progress is a dangerous to American security. I'm just paraphrasing it, but that's the kind of shit that they've always said, that black progress is what we have to stop. We have to continue to cause chaos. These are military machines coming into a neighborhood because you're black, a military machine, which they should use for war. But yeah, it's no different than what they did in Philadelphia, which was called the Move, where they bombed the black neighborhood for no reason. No different than them, you know, burning up Black Wall Street, burning up black towns, ruining black businesses, right? Just, it's always been that way. Anything, anywhere where black people have been, they've tried to destroy and ruin. And these motherfuckers won't sleep until they destroy us. But, well, it looks like you're going to be up for a long time, because motherfuckers ain't going to be taking this shit. And I believe that. I believe that they got a fight on their hands.
I think we're entering the darkest hour for Black America ever. I do think that what we're about to enter is going to be worse than slavery. And the big reason for that is because people aren't even aware of how unfree they are at this point in time. We are actually all more fucked than Assata Shakur. Like, all of us. And like I said, I've been on a watch list since I was 13. I'm not gonna go into why that is, but I've been on a domestic terrorist watch list since I was a child. Assata Shakur was also on was labeled a domestic terrorist, and Trump just signed an executive order to basically label all of us on this app as domestic terrorists. But what's even worse is that right now we actually have less organization, less movement, less capacity, less commitment than at any point in American history. Because people think, well, as long as I get money, I'll be fine. They're gonna run up in your fucking job, sis. They're coming in your job to snatch you. And I don't talk about this a lot, you know, because being a black woman with foresight, much in the same vein as Octavia Butler, I've been telling y'all this since 2020. Like 2019, I was like, oh, pattern recognized. Handmaid's Tale is actually not as bad as it's going to be. Because Handmaid's Tale is actually just what it's going to be for, like, wealthy white women. Do you guys realize the rest of us are going to them camps? And the craziest thing is y'all are like, they're not going to get me, they're not going to get me. They're going to get you. You don't even know how to survive in the woods. How the fuck do you think Asada got to Cuba? Like, how do you think she physically moved her body to Cuba? How do you, like, you don't have not a singular survival skill. You're not a part of a single organization. You don't have no friends. You are a worker drone. You're a worker drone in a country that has decided that you are domestic terrorists. You can't put your head down any further and avoid the scrutiny of Big Brother's eye. His eye is on us all, you guys. And it's frustrating. Here's what I'm going to say. I've been feeling called to leave social media. I no longer see any value that this app has, and I encourage all of you to leave social media and go outside. That, I think social media is actually hindering us from movement building, from actual organizing. It is taking too much of our time. It is distracting us. It is distracting because even organizers think they need to be on social media to reach people. No, that is not what the purpose of this app is. And it's not going to work in that sense. I think all of us need to wake up. It's time to, like, snap back to reality. And get serious. Because once you tip the scale, which has been tipped, but once you tip the scale from, if I do everything right, if I assume a submissive position, if I do not resist, and if I go along to get along, I will still be captured by the state, you now have no choice but you have to now resist. I'm not going to say too much, but that is where we are. Or be content to die in the camp. Those are the only two options. And I think it's really hard for humans to, like, process, like, long-term situation reality. But, like, if you're not leaving the country, if you don't have at least $75,000 in cash right now, you cannot get out this motherfucker. I'm telling you right now, you're stuck here with us. And yeah, if you don't have the money to leave, you're stuck here. You're gonna get either captured or you're gonna, like, that's it. Like, that's it. Because none of us they have a record. They know who is a Nazi and who's not. And most of you are not Nazis. So you're gonna end up in the camp. And this is a country that has no problem committing G-sides. I need y'all to wake up. We are at the point where all of us must either commit revolutionary suicide or prepare to go the way of that young woman in V for Vendetta. I'm giving you as much game as I can give you. Okay? That's it, that's all. That's it. There's quite literally only two options, and I need y'all to choose. I need you to make a choice today. Today's the day. If you were looking for the day of, oh my God, are we gonna do it or not? It's today. Today's the day.
ICE is now targeting and arresting African Americans in their raids. I guess they were told, like, just arrest anybody with a warrant, but obviously now they're targeting African Americans as well, you know, in addition to what they were already doing. And my first question is, if someone has a warrant out, shouldn't that be, like, actual law enforcement that handles that, not ICE, who literally goes there with, like, mask covering their face and no badge or no identification, and they can just kind of do anything willy-nilly? Like, what? Why is that now the thing? My other thing is, what is going to constitute as a warrant in a time where the current administration is basically making it a crime to speak out against them? Like long term wise, that would be their goal, to basically make it not legal to speak out against the current administration. And then what if they start issuing warrants based off of that? And then ICE basically just starts going off of that as well. And like how it's already targeting African Americans as well as the Hispanic community. This is not, no. And I also feel like it's them trying to rile black people up and get us out into the streets in order to enact some type of martial law, maybe, I don't know. But like, that's another thing that I'm thinking, like maybe they are just in a state of like trying to provoke the black community in America, and we're just not going for it. And so they just keep having to throw new tricks out and try new things, but it's like they are not stopping no matter how much they see that we are remaining at rest. Like it almost feels like they are intentionally trying to rile us up and do anything they possibly can to get us out into those streets, to make us angry, to make us mad, and then to harvest off of our energy. Like this shit is actually all crazy, seriously.
Now ICE is targeting us. They jumped a black man in Tennessee. They're arresting black men in Chicago. And they had our children zip tied. And if I'm not mistaken, one of my mutuals talked about how they said they were going to let them go if they didn't have a warrant for their arrest. But why are children being zip tied? Black people, I need y'all to hear me and hear me good. These people want to see your blood. They are going to bring 1,600 to 2025. They already had men out here that don't look like us dressing up as ICE agents, going and kidnapping some of the Hispanic women and essaying them. What do you think they're going to do to you? What we going to do? Because fighting back is not an option. That's going to end up bad if we go up against the military. There's a reason, black people, they made sure you would not have a military. So when they get back on their transatlantic slave trade energy, you can't fight them back. This is not going to end well.
Alright, I ain't never been Mr. I told you so. So with the news of the Chicago ICE raids, I'm still not going to be that. But from now on, I need y'all to understand, if you are a black African American, if you are just brown or a POC, you are now immediately a target for ICE raids. In case you ain't know, them folks done ran up into an apartment complex in the middle of Chicago, and regardless of how them folks spoke, regardless of where they said they was from, regardless of how they appeared, they got thrown into a van and sent in for questioning. Some folks didn't get out until 3 a.m. and that's for the older elderly women. That means that is an illegal search. That is an illegal arrest, going into your property, search and seizure, and then sending you in for questioning. And if you had a warrant out for your arrest, you're not getting sent back. That is not normal. That is not okay. That is civilly unrest. So with that news now being understood, all the people in Illinois, I'm sure you know by now, but the governor informed everyone to record everything, to narrate everything, to look at badge and to look out for a badge number and document that too. So for all my African Americans, I need y'all to understand, if them folks come up to you for questioning and they do not give you a badge or a badge number, you do not have to comply. I'm gonna say that again. I'm not telling you what to do, but this is something we've seen in our history. They already sending national troops to Memphis, so it's quite clear that they are now attempting to police us in very illegal measures. They already got spyware going on and all that, but what's really more important right now for you to understand, there are plenty of resources online, and you need to go into that, look at it, and figure out what to do whenever you are potentially questioned by ICE. Also, what's necessary is if you are someone in a city that you're unfamiliar to, you don't got family there, you don't got anything of the sort, there are plenty of organizations there that are based on immigration advocacy, that are based on African American solidarity, that are based on just being a POC or regardless of what you identify as. Go to that and make that your community. It's time that all of us, we need to be more caring and more cognizant of each other's existence. Watch out for the next man's back, watch out for the next neighbor's back, and just be a little bit more understanding of everyone around you. Get to know your neighbor if you don't. Get to know their name. You know what I'm saying? It's time that you actively do a little bit more to be paying attention of the safety of your neighborhood, because right now what Trump's doing is targeting any major city that is potentially outspoken, and any major city that got black people. And you need to be cognizant of that. Do as much research as you can so you know what to do in case you get questioned. And please, 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 once again, if you see your neighbor potentially at risk, find some people that don't look like ICE agents, that look like ICE agents but potentially could be a dupe. Make sure it is known that you are there bearing witness, and let that next person know if they aren't identifying themselves that they don't have to comply. Just make sure you are safe. It's a lot of grifters out there, it's a lot of bounty hunters, and it's a lot of people out there getting ready to take advantage of the situation. And I'm not trying to fearmonger longer, but just informed. The illegal arrests and the search and seizures and the lack of warrants going on, that ain't gonna be sustainable. But right now, remaining informed is the best thing you can do, major city or not.
So if ICE is detaining black people now in Chicago, where are they sending us? Where are we going? Don't threaten me with a good time. Send me to Turks and Caicos.
I just knew. I knew. When I saw that shit, I knew that that shit was a false ass fucking narrative. The situation in Chicago, Illinois, where ICE is supposedly detaining copper American people is a fucking lie. There were some copper people detained, but they were only detained to remove them from the situation so that they can go in the building and get the people that they were actually after, which were illegal Venezuelan gang members. Yeah, you heard me right. Illegal Venezuelan gang members, not copper Americans. Let's get that one fact straight. So I'm going to need all y'all that's out here still saying, oh, be careful, they're detaining copper people. No, they're not. They just switched the narrative and put it out there to scare copper American people. That was a fucking scare tactic. And I'm pretty sure we ain't gullible enough to fall for that shit. And also, I think that the reason why they switched the narrative on it is because they're trying to distract y'all from the true situation that is happening in Chicago, Illinois, with the Attorney General of Chicago, Illinois, that admitted that the state committed fraud to reclassify copper American people from the indigenous Indians to copper American people, well, Black America. That's what's really going on in Chicago. Do y'all know that? And do y'all know that the National Association of Advancement of the Indigenous People is using that and taking that to change and reclassify us all in every state as who the fuck we really are? They're using that to fix the shit that the white people have been trying to cover up, that been doing, erasing who we are, trying to erase our history. That's why they doing that with the scare tactics of saying that ICE is detaining motherfucking copper people. Because they don't want y'all to know that they are actually the main reason why everybody else is going to have to change and reclassify the African American, which are copper American people, as the indigenous people, who we originally are. And right now, they are using scare tactics to distract us from knowing the truth. So know the truth, my people. This is what's going on. Yeah, we are about to get reclassified around this bitch to who the fuck we really are. And it started in Chicago, Illinois, where they're telling you that they're detaining copper people. Make it make sense. If you know, you know.
And if you think that's the first and the last time that they will raid black homes, you ain't been paying attention. That's why I always said that when it comes down to injustices, we always have to be boots on the ground. We always have to be paying attention, because due to systemic and structural racism that's so embedded in American culture, black people will always be at the forefront of injustices, no matter if it does not have anything to do with us. No matter if the target is quote unquote not us. I knew the moment that Donald Trump said that he was going to invade Chicago, that they were going to go straight for black people. Chicago, DC, all these places that's heavily populated by black people. This administration hates black and brown people. All y'all who said that they didn't have nothing to do with me when the LA raids happened, yes it did. It had everything to do with you. These are the same people who are trying to reverse birthright citizenship. Them people ran into them people building at 2:00 a.m. while they were asleep, pulled them out their houses. Black people, Venezuelan people, brown people, they pulled them all out their houses, their children. They stuffed them into U-Haul vans, okay? It wasn't just ICE, it was the FBI. It was the fucking city police. It was all of them. All of them work together. At this point, ICE is the police. They didn't ask them for any type of verification of their citizenship. They didn't ask them anything but, do you have warrants? Why is ICE asking people if they have warrants? They tore these people houses up. They didn't give them any kind of warrants. Even when the black people said, I think you got the wrong house, I'm a citizen, they still pulled them out. They literally lined them up and separated them like they were prisoners going to a concentration camp. We've seen this before. Look at the article. A tenant said that this is the worst that they've seen in an apartment. Mind you, the apartment was already ran under a slumlord, but this just made it 10 times worse.
Imagine you having to go downstairs and make a police report with the same people who just ran in and ravaged your damn apartment. For no reason. For no reason. They don't give a damn that we're citizens at this point. I really need y'all to remove the shock factor at this point. We need to stop being shocked about what these people do. We need to now be on the offense and defense, okay? You need to start having these conversations amongst your peers. You need to get to know your neighbors next door. You need to start joining organizations, grassroots organizations that are fighting against shit like this. Now is not the time for apathy. Now is not the time to say, well, it's not happening to me. Are you going to wait until it knocks on your front door? Or are you going to get emotional now? Or are you going to get in the field right now? If you're going to wait for it to knock on your front door, nobody's going to be left to fight for you. Nobody is going to be left to fight for your plight or your people. It's time for you to start caring about everybody else outside of you in your own worldview. Trust me, I was with Black women when we said we was going to rest, baby. Because I am still resting. I'm resting for fighting for the people who voted for this shit to be in office right now. But marginalized people, I'm going to always be boots on the ground. I'm going to always fight for the plight of marginalized people until I can't fight no more. And I really need y'all to lock in.
I really want people to sit with what happened here. They used Black Hawk helicopters in the middle of the night to rappel into an apartment building. They pulled everyone out, broke down the doors. Little kids who were sleeping naked or in their underwear, pulled out crying, zip tied together and thrown into U-Haul vans. Grown-ups, adults, seniors, did nothing wrong, middle of the night. Again, unclothed, zip tied together, thrown and detained for hours. No ability to make a phone call, no lawyer, no warrant, nothing. They are being abused. They're being assaulted. They're having their rights violated. They're having their possessions destroyed. It's hard for me to be shocked by what this administration does at this point when you're talking about pulling naked kids out of their beds, zip tying them together and throwing them in the back of a U-Haul van in the middle of the night. How can anyone, I don't care if you love Trump or hate Trump or you're anti, whatever, I don't know how anyone morally justifies this and feels okay with it and thinks that it doesn't directly implicate your own rights in your own life. These are criminal acts being committed by the DHS. They have decided that our rights do not exist, do not matter, that through brute force, they can literally do whatever they want to whoever they want. When your government that has the full force and power of the state is acting with complete and total impunity, that is a vastly greater danger than anything that we have seen in terms of undocumented immigrants coming into this country. And that's what I want people to really understand, okay? This is about immigration, but it's also not about immigration. This is a demonstration to the public. We can do whatever we want to you. You better stay in line. You better pray. You better be on our good side because that is the only thing that will protect you. So you better shut up and sit down and get in line.
Now let's talk about Chicago, the frozen people, and black bodies. Because the frozen people are wreaking havoc in Chicago right now. With all the footage that is coming out, the raids, the arrests, the images of them using chemical warfare against people just to get out of traffic, the stories that are coming out about them raiding homeless shelters that have locations that are supposed to be hidden to protect the people in the homeless shelters. Stories about them targeting elementary schools and apartment buildings at 1 o'clock in the morning. Parading out people, including U.S. citizens, detaining them for hours and separating them from their children. But with all of these stories coming out, these stories that are true stories, there is misinformation being spread with these stories. One in particular that I am seeing is the one about the apartment building. Now, it is true, they raided that apartment building at 1 o'clock in the morning. They went in there 300 strong and tore up the building and people's belongings. They detained multiple people, including U.S. citizens, and arrested 37 people. 2 of which they suspect of being gang members. Now, according to Homeland Security, they were after the Venezuelan gang, Tren de Agua. But their haphazard way of doing it put American citizens at risk and in the crossfire. However, the American citizens that were detained, albeit detained for hours, were then released. They weren't arrested or disappeared. Now, the 37 people that they did arrest, out of those 37 people, even Homeland Security says that only 2 of them were suspected of being a part of the gang. The rest of the 35, there is no reporting on that. It's just the fact that they weren't citizens and thus they be taken. Now, the children who were paraded out and put in zip ties, those kids are assumed to be the kids of those 37 people who were arrested. There is no reporting that I'm seeing about what has become of those people and those children. So if you want to be outraged by that, yes, be outraged. But people are using this story to stir up the black community. Now, since the election, the black community has been collectively resting. We looked at the election results and collectively said, bet, you handle this. We're resting. Now, since that time, Bone Spurs and the Bone Spurs administration have been trying their best to get a rise out of the black community, while at the same time passing executive orders that make it so it is easier to profile us, easier to brutalize us, and easier for cops to get away with doing said things. They have tried reintroducing segregation. They tried with destroying the Black Lives Matter streets and bulldozing the murals of the people who we had lost. That didn't work. They didn't get a rise out of us with that. They floated giving Derek Chauvin a pardon. That didn't do it. Recently, he took away Kamala Harris's detail, thinking that that was going to do it. And there have been attacks on the black community, like Trey Reed, in which they have tried to say that he did that to himself. Now, I completely understand that with everything that has been going on and all of the poking the bear type of situations that have been going on, the black community is starting to get restless. Instinctively, when we see problems, we speak out. When we know that one of our own has been hurt, we speak and go into action. It is in our nature to care. It is in our nature to fight back because that is what we have always done. There has never been a time in our history in this country where black people have rested. So I understand why people are getting restless. Resting is just not in our DNA. We have to work, fight, sweat, bleed for everything that we have in this country. So I understand that resting is not a part of our equation. I get it, but we aren't resting for no reason. We are resting because the Bone Spurs administration wants us to protest, to take to the streets. They want us and our black bodies lining the streets because in everything that they have done, they still don't have that secret sauce yet to fully declare martial law. In all the protests that have been going on, the No Kings protests, the protests against the frozen people, the protests that have been breaking out against Tesla and for Kimmel and for all of these things, they still don't have that specific thing they are looking for to go all out. The thing that they are looking for is us in the streets en masse. And they are using misinformation to try to rile us up. And it is working for some of these influencers out here who are seeing these images of a 2-year-old little black boy being arrested. And they are sharing this over and over again to stoke outrage in the black community. Because our first instinct when we see a 2-year-old little black boy in trouble is to go and save that 2-year-old. It is in our nature to put ourselves in danger for one of our own. It is in our nature. We have always been this way. And they are trying to use that against us. That story about that 2-year-old little boy is not real. I will be sharing the real story at the end of this video on YT and Substack. It's not real. The little boy was running away from his father, and his father is a cop. And his father fake handcuffed him and escorted him back to their house. The handcuffs fall off immediately. The little boy is not traumatized. He was fine. And it was supposed to be funny and adorable. It was never supposed to be used as a reason for black bodies to get out in the street. And people keep sharing this and things like it in order to stoke the black community into doing something that will unalive many of us. They are just waiting for that secret sauce to be able to unleash what they really want to unleash. All these talks about unleashing the military, and then you got Bone Spurs talking to the generals about using democratic cities, which are mostly people of color and very diverse, using those cities as training grounds. Do you not think that if black people get in the streets en masse, that they will not start that process? They have already laid everything in place. The only thing they are waiting on is us. So I need everybody to calm the fuck down. Take a breath. Calm down. I need you at this point to start thinking critically about the situation we are in. We have no room for rash action. We have no room for action based on outrage. Our actions at this point need to be calculated and efficient. And we already know that we can do that. For most people in this country, this regime is new. Being targeted is new to them. Your home being raided, Breonna Taylor, is new to them, not to us. The way that America is living right now under this regime is the way that we have always lived in this country. This ain't new for us. But what is new is us strategically holding ourselves back. and waiting for the right moment to act. We know hardship, and we have lost so many. But even with that, we have more power now than we ever have, and we need to use it strategically. You want to do something? Focus on building your wealth. Focus on your children's success. Study a martial art. Get self-defense classes so that you can protect yourself if you need to. And I'm not even kidding when I say this. Get some therapy. Talk to someone about what you are feeling so that you can let go of the rage that we are feeling seeing our brothers and sisters going through what they are in these cities. Be there for each other. Support Black business. There are so many things that we need to do to protect and support each other. We need to focus on that. Because for the influencers who are trying to shame Black people and say that they don't have the stones to go out and do something, do what? Do what exactly? Go out and unalive in the street? Is that your blaze of glory? No, that is not how we need to fight this battle. We are smarter than that. Always have been. We have been outsmarting these mofos for centuries. Do not take the bait.